Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Christmas Eve morning to you all. I hope you guys are having a great start to your day out there and excited about any plans that you have ongoing later on today with maybe friends and family or whatever you may have going on. Some people don't have any friends and family to hang out with, so we certainly are thinking about you and praying for you folks. Let us know in the comments. Talk to us throughout the day. We're here for you folks. I know that this time of the year isn't always the best time of the year for everybody, and I certainly understand that. I think I understand that a little bit more the older I get, and just the more that I get to know different people and their different situations that they are in. But we are certainly here for you folks. This channel is for everybody. It's not just about weather. We're a family type atmosphere on here. Look out for one another, and it's always awesome seeing people, pray for one another and talk to one another on here. It's always cool to see. But here to talk about the weather and try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for your Christmas Eve. Unfortunately, for folks that are traveling from point A to point B or whatever you may have going on as far as traveling, there is a lot of weather out there, a lot of rain, and we do have some heavy snow falling in areas of the country. As we get into tomorrow, there's going to be an all-out blizzard ongoing. Yes, a blizzard. There's blizzard warnings up. We kind of talked about that in yesterday evening's video about how they might issue blizzard warnings, and we're waking up to a lot of them across the middle of the country. We're going to get you guys details on that. But of course, we'll start the video off by talking about what's going to happen for today. So take advantage of the timestamps if you're not concerned about the weather for today. And I will have another section for the pattern change. We'll give you guys some updated information. But, this is sort of stayed about the same overnight. Not a whole lot of changes have been made to what we discussed yesterday evening, yesterday morning. But we will re-go over all the information and, just kind of tell you what's driving this and what could potentially happen. We definitely need to start to really hone in on this thing once we get after Christmas time. But we have a big, major winter storm right out in front of us that we need to figure out first. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's start off by just looking at the radar. We got snow falling across Nebraska, snowing like crazy in the northeast sections of Colorado, even some snow that's wrapped into the northwestern portion of Kansas. Rain starting to switch to snow in central South Dakota. Some snow also up here in North Dakota. So it's a snowy start to your Christmas Eve up here. Probably pretty festive. It's not a huge event. The big event comes in tomorrow. And in fact, these areas that are going to see a lot of heavy snow are just seeing rain right now. Now, there are certain areas where it is snowing where you're going to get more snow on top of what's already falling today as we get into tomorrow into the 26th. But in a lot of these areas, it's just raining right now. It's raining all the way up in Canada, guys. It's crazy. But the southern sections of the U.S., south central, raining pretty heavy in areas of Texas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern Kansas, and then Louisiana. Pretty much the entire state is kind of socked into rain right now. Then we have some lingering moisture in the northeast. You're waking up to a little light snow flying around in kind of the Adirondacks. So if you're living up in that region, Robin, let me know if you're seeing any snow up there in the interior sections of the northeast. But definitely a little bit of a festive start up here. I wasn't expecting for moisture to linger around so long, but it could linger around throughout the morning hours, maybe getting into this afternoon. So some flakes flying around. Nothing substantial at all. So this is what's going on right now. System trying to enter the Pacific Northwest too. There'll be system 1 out of 2 that kind of affects you folks in Washington, Oregon over the next 24 to 36 hours. Storm Prediction Center, the good news is we're not expecting any severe weather, just a lot of heavy rain out of this. But there is a general risk of thunderstorms stretching all the way up to almost the Nebraska-Kansas state line, all the way over to Birmingham, almost to Tallahassee, all the way down to Corpus Christi, Texas. So we do have a risk of some thunderstorms, nothing severe expected. The flash flooding risk, we do have a slight risk, which means there's at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in a given location. This does include Kansas City all the way down to sections of the Ozarks, almost all the way down to Tulsa, Oklahoma. This does include Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Gulfport, Mobile, and then a very small section of what the western panhandle of Florida. This could move around a little bit, kind of broaden, but right now there is that slight risk of flash flooding. So definitely watch out for rain that's just going to continue to fall over some of the same areas. Some of these areas have already seen a good bit of rain over the last couple days. But here's the watches and warnings. Check it out. We do have winter weather advisories up for New York. There's some freezing drizzle falling in areas like the Catskills and Just a little freezing drizzle out here, and some of this is falling in the form of snow up here in the northern sections of New York. So, you might be surprised waking up to some winter weather advisories up here in New York. I honestly wasn't expecting it, but probably just because I wasn't diving deep into what could happen overnight. Trust me, I don't know the details of every section of the country to a T. So I'm not even going to lie to you folks, waking up to a little bit of a freezing drizzle for you folks. But the good news is this is not a huge concern. Just maybe a glaze on some elevated surfaces and a little bit of snow flying around the Adirondacks. A lot of dense fog again for the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. And then check this out. The red, bright on your screen, those are blizzard warnings. Blizzard warnings. It's going to crank up for tomorrow. We really weren't expecting this, say, 5 to 7 days ago. There was a signal showing up for another low to develop, but models really kind of doubled down on it. And here we are. We're dealing with a blizzard for tomorrow. We got winter storm watches up into Lincoln and then Omaha. There's a good chance that some winter storm watches will get upgraded to at least advisories, but there is also a good chance these will get upgraded to a winter storm warning, and I think they will up here in the winter storm watches up in South Dakota. Can't speak this morning, probably speaking a little too fast, but there's a couple counties in eastern and northeastern Colorado with winter storm warnings, and that's what's happening right now with the heavy snow falling. There's some banding over this region, and we do have some accumulating snow falling in these regions. Some wind advisories up for the Gulf coastline, and that's about it. But this is going to be a big storyline moving into tomorrow. It really is. So let's talk about the Southeast first. Today, warm. I'll be honest. Me and my wife helped me out a lot. We bagged some leaves yesterday afternoon in the backyard. We have 2 massive oak trees, and we spent about an hour and a half bagging up about 20 bags of leaves, and it was nice. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fan of it feeling like winter and wintertime, but being outside and it in the mid to upper 60s, it was nice. And it's gonna be another day like that today. If you live in Georgia, the Carolinas, and kind of this area right here of the country before the rain moves in, it's going to be a nice day if you're big on Christmas Eve and spending Christmas Eve over Christmas Day, hanging out with friends and family. If you got anything to do outside, it's going to be a nice day for it. But unfortunately, here comes the rain. We're getting into about, losing my voice there. We're getting into about midday now. This is around lunchtime. Rain is beginning to take over southern sections of Mississippi. You got some heavier rain back here in eastern Texas. Rain continues to fall in Louisiana. And we start to get into this afternoon. Rain begins to take over most of Arkansas. Still raining in Louisiana. Light rain in Mississippi. Some rain showers beginning to move into southern and central Alabama. We got a little bit of shower activity trying to show up for kind of the low country of South Carolina, areas of Georgia and South Carolina. But this might not even happen. We'll see. And the rain's starting to take over the panhandle of Florida. And then as we are getting into this evening, Christmas Eve evening, 9, 10 p.m., it could end with some heavy rain in Baton Rouge, New Orleans. Some thunderstorms are very possible down here. And then we start to move into the overnight hours. Rain is continuing to chug through Mississippi, the Boot Heel, Missouri, all of Missouri, northeast Arkansas, the western half of Tennessee. And as we're waking up for tomorrow morning, it's still raining in the Big Bend area, Florida Panhandle. Rain is continuing to move through Alabama, and rain is beginning to take over pretty much all of western Georgia at this point, and rain is knocking on your doorstep here in Nashville. And then as we go throughout Christmas Day, rain will continue to move northeast. So it looks like it is the southeast turn for rain for your Christmas Day. But rainfall between now and the next 24 hours, you can see how it creeps eastward. And here we go. We'll take it between now and tomorrow morning, our Christmas morning. Look how much rain can fall along the Gulf Coast. Southeast Louisiana, 2 to 3 inches of rain. 1 to 3 inches of rain is a common theme in Mississippi. Down here near Mobile, anywhere from 2 inches to maybe a 2 1/4 of rain down here. Rain starts to accumulate in the panhandle of Florida. And this is just going out to Christmas morning. It continues to add up as we progress this into the 26th, and rain starts to add up in these regions. But certainly a soggy day across the Deep South, a soggy Christmas Eve. Up here in the Northeast, like I said, a little bit of freezing drizzle, a little bit of light snow kind of flying around, a little bit of just a wintry mix. Some light rain showers could drift through Maryland, the Delmarva region throughout the afternoon hours. No washout at all. some rain showers could make its way through southern New England. We'll watch out for this. Not a big storyline at all, but just some rain showers and some drizzle. And it could become widespread as we get deeper into the evening around Boston, up into southern New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and then we're waking up tomorrow morning with just some light drizzle kind of flying around, some showers making its way through Pennsylvania, but certainly not a huge deal. Now, as we move into the south central U.S., we kind of talked about this a little bit already with the southeast frame, but rain will continue to make its way through eastern Texas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern Kansas. We're starting to make its way into western Arkansas, western Missouri, and then we're starting to get into this afternoon. If you're confused about what time frame we're at, guys, I know some people do ask. Back this up 1 hour because we're in the central frame. That'll be important when we start to break down this blizzard that we will here in a second. But we could get some thunderstorms down here in Louisiana, southeast Texas, eastern Texas. Could be in the form of some thunderstorms. And then this is when that low develops, and then more rain will start to develop again in eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma. Just when you think it's pulling out, more rain begins to develop. This is going to be heavy, and there's going to be just enough cold air on the western to northwestern and northern portion of the storm where we'll start to see a little bit of snow. So later this evening, there could be some light snow action in central Kansas. But man, heavy rain falls overnight in Kansas City, but this is just rain for you folks. And really some heavy rain could begin to take over most of Missouri. And then we're starting to get into tomorrow morning, and that's when we can start to see some flakes flying around in northern Kansas. And we'll break down this winter storm here in a second. But the rest of the country, the rest of the south central U.S., we're just dealing with the rain today. But as far as rainfall between now and Monday morning, tomorrow morning, or Christmas morning here, you can see how it starts to add up, and then we take it all the way into tomorrow morning. An inch, 2 inches of rain is possible in eastern Kansas, 2 to 3 inches of rain possible for central and eastern Oklahoma, and 1 to 2 inches of rain is possible for central, kind of east central and eastern areas of Texas. Definitely just a washout today for certain areas. You might get some breaks here and there, but rain adding up all the way into western Missouri, even southwestern Iowa. Certainly a good bit of rain in Arkansas today for sure. So, there will be some snow that will continue to add up in these areas right into here, northeast sections of Colorado. A few inches of snow will continue to add up really just this morning, and then there'll be a stripe of accumulating snow through kind of west central Nebraska. Anywhere from 2 to maybe 4 inches of snow will add up, and then you might get more snow thrown on top of this. In fact, you most likely will as we are getting into Christmas Day. What about the north central U.S.? Man, for you folks, you're just going to get rain for Iowa, for Minnesota. But, there is some a colder side to this. Even though it's still warmer than average technically, it's still cold enough for snow. So snow will begin to make its way through kind of the heart of South Dakota. Rain will switch to snow in kind of southeast areas of North Dakota. Rain will switch to snow in northwest Minnesota. I don't think there's any real alerts up here, but if you live in northwest Minnesota and you're tuning in, please let me know. You guys could switch from rain to snow later on today and could have some snow flying around as you round off your Christmas Eve. And, I could see a few inches falling up here. I could. But, as we get into this evening, rain just in Minneapolis up into the northern to really northeast corner of Minnesota. Just rain moving through Des Moines, northern areas of Missouri. We've already kind of talked about that. And then we keep this going here. This is just rain. And really the western and northwestern sections of Wisconsin. And this is when our low begins to develop here. And then we're waking up tomorrow morning to an all-out winter storm for these sections right into here with just rain starting to move through Illinois. You're going to have a rainy day in Chicago, probably eventually until Milwaukee too as we get later into the afternoon hours. But this low is plowing right through Iowa, so there's going to be a lot of warm air getting pulled from this system. But, waking up for Christmas morning, guys, the winter storm's starting to crank up, and we'll speak more on that here in a second. But rainfall between now and the next 24 hours, this is some of this is snow, especially down here in Nebraska, but this is just rain here for the most part in central Minnesota, maybe a half inch of rain. But then we look, then we look at the snow between now and the next 24 hours. Could get maybe an inch and a half of snow in kind of northern northwest Minnesota. A little bit of snow in kind of southeast South Dakota, a couple inches of snow maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow here in areas of South Dakota, and maybe 2 to 4 inches of snow here in west central areas in Nebraska. And then the snow is starting to pile up further east in Nebraska. And we could, add up a little bit of snow here in the far northwest corner of Kansas. So out west, it's pretty quiet. There will be a kind of a weaker system that kind of pulls in about midday today. This will deliver some rain showers for your Christmas Eve for western Washington, western Oregon, and then extreme northwestern sections of California. Some higher elevation snow with this, and then a bigger system moves in overnight and takes over a lot of Oregon as we're waking up for our Christmas morning. And I think we're going to be dealing with a pretty rainy Christmas morning for the typical western sections of Washington and Oregon that typically get a lot of rain with these systems, and could be waking up to some snow flying around in eastern sections of Oregon. It's very possible. And maybe a snowy Christmas day way up in the Cascades. This is a warmer system, so you got to get way up there. But, moisture between with this first system and to this evening, not a whole lot. I mean, maybe, a tenth to 2/10 of an inch of rain. But it's the system that moves in overnight that really starts to add up the rain. This is taking us all the way through the morning of the 26th, and you start to pick up a lot of moisture from this. And, you look at the snow from this too. You got to get pretty high up there, but, you can pick up a couple inches. And the Olympic Mountains, the Cascades, you got to get way up there to get several inches of snow. This will definitely be a warmer system. Temperatures, man, southeast, nice before this rain moves in. I mean, you're going to be seeing temperatures in the 60s. I think some areas will get into the low 70s, even as far north as maybe North Carolina. Tennessee, a nice day. Kentucky, 60s. I mean, if you're into this kind of stuff, once I kind of get over the fact that we're not going to get a one of those freak kind of winter storms like we saw 34 years ago in 1989, where it snowed like on Christmas Eve or the 23rd in Jacksonville, Florida. And I know you folks in the Carolinas and areas of Georgia and Florida remember that, where in 1989 we had the crazy winter storm a couple days before Christmas. When I know where nothing like that's going to happen, which that's a outlier as far as the most extreme scenario, then I'm okay with a warmer Christmas Eve. I mean, I do like it a little bit colder, maybe not as cold as last year, but I am kind of with the people that say, hey, if it's not going to snow, might as well just be a nice day on Christmas Eve. And it is. It's going to be pretty nice ahead of the rain moving in, but then tomorrow will not be nice. A chilly day in the Northeast, but you're starting to warm back up. You're not locked in the freezer anymore like you've been throughout the entire week last week. But, still pretty chilly, 30s, 40s. Man, I saw a picture out of Caribou, Maine. Guys, there's no snow on the ground. Typically, their average snowfall depth for this time of the year, I believe, is 11 inches. There's nothing on the ground. Pretty wild. Texas, pretty warm, but a lot of rain. And then out west, you're definitely back to around average temperatures. Some areas might be slightly below average temperatures, but this big system's pulling in some cold air that will eventually kind of kickstart the pattern change for the eastern U.S. But all the colder areas out west, northern plains, you're definitely going to be chilly for your Christmas Eve, but nothing too crazy at all compared to average. So let's talk about this blizzard potential. So this system pulls out. All right, we're going to take a look at the HRRR model. The system pulls out that we just kind of broke down. And then here comes the winter weather. And yes, I'm going to show you folks in Kansas, so don't think that I'm just chopping you off here. I am going to show what the HRRR model shows for your region, so just hang with me. But, this is Omaha. You got Lincoln right here. You got many other communities, Sioux Falls, Sioux City up here in this region. But as we're starting to get, and remember, we're in Central Time, so back this up 1 hour. It's around midnight tonight. We start to get into the wee hours of the morning, starting to get to about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Could start out as a heavy wintry mix in like Omaha, certainly snow in Lincoln, kind of a wintry mix and more so ice up here in southwest Minnesota. And then we start to get, and we're waking up tomorrow morning to heavy snow falling across the entire eastern half of Nebraska. We got snow down here in northern Kansas, but I can tell you the system's ticked a little bit further northwest, I would say. But I would say just the axis of moisture has kind of ticked northwest. Not necessarily has it kind of ticked more warmer, but just the axis of heavier moisture has maybe moved a little bit further northwest. But, if you're going off the HRRR model, it has very heavy snow falling across Omaha, Lincoln, up to the kind of the Sioux Falls, Sioux City regions. But this is just rain over here in Des Moines. Okay, just a chilly rain. But we're going in throughout the morning hours. You're getting all the way to about midday. It's still snowing. This is, what we were questioning, is this going to be all snow? What is this going to be down here like around the Omaha area? And I know I keep mentioning Omaha, but that's more of a highly populated area, and an area that in general is not as highly populated as maybe like sections of the eastern U.S. But this is a nasty wintry mix, kind of a thin area for these areas of Minnesota, and I think there could be more ice, even into these grain areas than maybe what this is showing. And I think the National Weather Service agrees with that, because it's showing ice further south than this. There's going to be a nasty mix somewhere here in southwest sections of Minnesota, and this is just heavy snow. And guys, the winds will start to pick up, and we're going to have an all-out blizzard. This is moderate to heavy snow falling across Nebraska, South Dakota. Snow is moving into southwest North Dakota. And this is just a nasty wintry mix up here in northern Minnesota. And we keep this going all the way into tomorrow evening. Back end snow tries to make it all the way into the far northeast corner of Colorado. But this is very heavy snow, guys. Somebody is going to catch a dry slot, which is basically where the low kind of comes up, and where the precipitation is pivoting around. I guarantee you, somebody will get less snow than what's forecast. Somewhere in South Dakota, maybe Nebraska. There's that dry slot showing up right here. I really think that'll happen. And then as we're getting into tomorrow night, this is when we really start to deal with some freezing rain issues and that wintry mix. And this is as far out as it goes. But, for my folks in Kansas, I will show you guys. This is getting into about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. We have some snow falling in these areas right here in Kansas. Kind of a heavy snow band that sets up, could start to dump accumulating snow. This could end. It tries to get a wintry mix tomorrow morning into Kansas City. We'll see if that happens. But most of this snow is confined to the far northern counties of Kansas. And this was looking more aggressive yesterday for the northern counties of Kansas, and it could trend back that way. We'll see what happens. But what's interesting to me is, we do have some flurries, kind of the round off your Christmas Day, kind of wrapping into Missouri. We'll talk more on that here in the next video. But this is snow. All you got to do is cross over the Kansas-Nebraska line, get into Nebraska, and the snow is falling at a pretty moderate to heavy clip up here. And we keep this going, and then some snow could begin to kind of push back down into the northern counties of Kansas again as we are getting into tomorrow night. So we have to see what happens with this for sure. And if we kind of go back here, and let's go back to the European model, and let's go back to precipitation. And because this did not show the entire life of the system, I can tell you the global models are much warmer. The HRRR model says all snow for like Omaha for the most part, but the European, for example, pretty much starts you off as rain, for example, for like southeast Nebraska, even areas of Omaha, like Lincoln, maybe starting off as some snow. Then it switches to like a freezing rain mix of sleet, freezing rain, maybe some snow, snowing like crazy about an hour or two kind of west of the city. But this is all freezing rain off the Euro and kind of southwest areas of Minnesota, even extreme eastern areas of South Dakota. And you keep this going, this turns into an all-out ice storm off the Euro. Stays mainly freezing rain in Omaha. The Sioux Falls, Sioux City regions, just freezing rain. This is nasty freezing rain showing up on the Euro. And you keep this going, and it slings this low pretty far west to where it switches, snow to freezing rain, then all the way to rain for these areas. So we can't just look at the HRRR model and say, hey, that's going to be right. You got to look at some of these global models too. The Euro's saying, this is going to be a warmer system for these areas right in here, but it wants to sling this snow much further west into South Dakota, into Nebraska. And in fact, it gets snow back all the way to Colorado. So it's very interesting what we got going on here. And then this just kind of drifts away and ends. So it's very odd. And, we might as well look at the kind of the GFS too with this and what it shows. And this is way too far ahead. Let's go back it up. A GFS definitely is kind of in between the HRRR model and the Euro. GFS is actually more so towards the HRRR model and keeps it more of a snowy scenario for like Omaha, but does have that nasty corridor of ice in the pink The orange is the sleet. But it still eventually slings this load pretty far west and dumps a lot of snow pretty far west into South Dakota and Omaha. So we need to figure this one out for sure. It's very interesting. What we do know is some very strong winds. It's starting off for your Christmas morning, and look at these strong winds across Nebraska, South Dakota. You're already gusting to 30 to 40 miles per hour. These are not sustained. These are wind gusts. But look, as we start to get into the afternoon of Christmas, you start to get some 40 to 50, maybe 55, 60 mile per hour wind gusts in South Dakota, Nebraska, and this becomes a dangerous situation. And if this low really slingshots kind of back west, man, I mean, you start to get into Christmas overnight, into the wee hours of the morning, to the 26th, you're getting 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts all the way into Colorado. And we might really need to start to include more of Colorado in the next video with this. And very, very strong winds across the northern plains with blowing snow. Blizzard conditions, guys. Yeah, so this is definitely trended into an all-out blizzard. As far as how much snow could fall, and we're going to zoom into some individual areas here. But this is the snowfall for today. But look how it adds up. They've increased the snowfall totals again, guys. I mean, look at this in southern South Dakota. And they have pushed it a little bit further to the west and even southwest. In fact, you kind of look here. This is from the event today. But look, now they're showing additional snowfall accumulations for like back here in like Kansas. So it almost makes me think in northeast Colorado, it almost makes me think they're kind of buying the euro a little bit more. So we have to see what happens. This is going to tweak some. But this is the latest National Weather Service forecast for snow. And yes, I am going to zoom into each individual regions. I know this just shows numbers for Nebraska and South Dakota. But when I zoom in, it's going to show some cities. But man, this area right in here, guys, a 1.5 to 2 feet of snow is predicted. But look at that cutoff right in here. Just a few inches of snow right now. And kind of a wide range in Omaha and like Lincoln and even the Sioux Falls region, Sioux City region. So it's pretty crazy to see this, guys. It really is. And, you know, you look at ice, guys. The ice could be dangerous, too. They're going for 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice potentially up here for northern Minnesota. But this is ice storm criteria ice. And this would make sense if the Euro is correct in the GFS, because it likes a lot of ice in this region. But it's going for, guys, it's going for like 3/10 of an inch of ice. Once you start to get over a 1/4 inch, that's when you start to get into a trouble zone with tree branches falling, heck, even smaller trees falling, bigger trees falling if you get enough ice, and ice on the roadways. And you really got to start to get above a 1/4 inch to really have those real issues. And it's showing a glaze down here in Omaha, but I could see the ice increasing down here on the kind of the Nebraska-Iowa state line and these regions right here. 2/10 of an inch of ice showing up for southwest Minnesota. Could be some big issues, guys. It could. You know, and kind of going back to this, you know, we look at what the latest Euro is showing. And that's not what I want to see here. Let's see, look at this. And yeah, it kind of buys, the National Weather Service kind of buys the Euro. And it really, you know, puts a jackpot region right here under southern South Dakota with 2 feet of snow. So, you know, if you look at the HRRR model and we go out as far as we can, you know, it really wants to dump a lot more heavy snow even into the the western counties of Iowa. So we got to figure this one out. It's a big question mark. Still, I wouldn't say a big question mark. This is really coming together, but you can tell the National Weather Service is kind of buying more of the Euro and the global models. But let's zoom into some of these areas, guys. And this was updated a couple hours ago, so it's pretty fresh off of the press here, if you will. But you notice it talks about, it says the greatest area of uncertainty is in this kind of pink dashed region right in here. So it says that this could tweak back and forth. And here's the discussion. Pause this if you want. This is available to the public, but this is the National Weather Service out of Omaha. Norfolk going for 8 to 13 inches. O'Neill 12 to 21 inches. I mean, even in these higher totals, guys, I mean, there's a pretty big variety, right? I mean, you can get anywhere from 1 foot to 2 feet of snow. But, you know, what's wild to me is Lincoln, anywhere from 4 inches to 9 inches. Nebraska City, 1 to 4. Omaha, 1 to 4. And it doesn't have an ice graphic pulled up. If it does, I missed it. But, you know, pause this if you want. You know, Grand Island, 9 to 17 inches of snow. Kearney, 8 to 17. Ord, 8 to, you know, 8 inches to 16 inches of snow. Pretty wild stuff. And then here's another graphic for the area. Blizzard warnings in the pink. I hope this helps you guys out. Best area that might need to be upgraded to a winter storm warning later today is this area right in here, not circled in Omaha, but pause this if you need to. Confidence level in this forecast is between medium and high, but blizzard conditions will develop through the day, Monday into Monday night, across much of the central and northeast areas of Nebraska. So, man, wild storm, guys. National Weather Service out of Hastings, Nebraska. Pause this if you need to. Discussion right here, very nice discussion. Winter storm watch to a blizzard warning for the Tri-Cities North and West, where forecast confidence is highest. But here it is. It shows many cities. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but Hastings 7 to 15 inches of snow forecast. Kearney 8 to 17 inches. Colby down here 2 to 8. It starts to drop off down here, but big time snowstorm. There's the epicenter of it right here. St. Paul 8 to 15. Ord 8 to 16. Grand Island, 9 to 17 inches of snow. North Platte going for 6 to 11. So snowfall, additional snowfall beginning to, some of these areas are already getting snow this morning, but more snow's on the way. And then you start to get up to the National Weather Service in, Aberdeen, South Dakota. Discussion right here. Blizzard warning up for Mitchell, Huron, winter. But just still got winter storm watches. But, stay tuned in Aberdeen. I think that's how you pronounce it. Redfield, Watertown, all these areas. Gettysburg, Pierre, Miller, these areas could upgrade. In fact, I expect them to upgrade to a winter storm warning. So there is, some better graphics. Here's a nice graphic for this area. Pause it if you need to. And then they have an ice forecast for these areas. And I like this. I think this is important to have. But look at these ice totals for these areas. This is, once you start to get over a quarter inch, that's an issue. Once you start to get over a tenth of an inch, you can really see it on the trees. This is potential snowfall. Winter, 12 to 24 inches of snow possible. Gettysburg, 5 to 12. Aberdeen, just 3 to 8, but this could increase. Sioux Falls, 2 to 5. This is the big question mark area right here. And there's, it says it right here. It says, shifts in storm track could still affect forecast snow accumulations, moderate to heavy snow. So, yeah, I hope that helps, guys. I will try to get you guys an update. It depends on how early this afternoon I get home on that. But if I get home kind of later, I'm probably not going to have you folks an update tonight. I'm going to try, though. But, it's Christmas Eve. I know you guys understand. We'll see what happens, though. But after this system, kind of what's going to be going on too, as we're waking up tomorrow morning, guys, rain is going to be overspreading the Mid-South, the Southeast. It's going to be a rainy Christmas day across the Southeast, across the Mid-South, across the Midwest and the Ohio River Valley. And as we're getting into the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, you're still dealing with rain, even some thunderstorms down here in South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and rain. This is just rain up here in the Great Lakes region the day after Christmas. And then as we're getting into the 27th, most of this is just rain for the Northeast. But what happens after this, to me, is a big question mark. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But rainfall between Christmas morning throughout the next 2 days. Good bit of rain, guys. El Nino is here and it's flexing its guns. A lot of rain in these areas. Certain areas maybe a half an inch, so not a ton, but certainly enough to kind of soak the ground, especially here in the Carolinas and North Georgia, where some lift from the mountains could provide more rain in the Western Carolinas, upstate South Carolina, northern sections of Georgia. So as this system pulls out, okay, that rain we just spoke on, kind of an upper level low, not an upper level low, kind of an upper trough, just troughing, settles in. We've been speaking on this. A trough sets in, and we got energy rotating around this trough, as you can tell. And as it does, it's going to bring, some cold air. As we're getting into the morning of the 28th, kind of some northwest flow energy, just energy in general, starts to wrap its way in on the Euro. You can see this rain starting to switch to snow in these sections, rain starting to switch from snow in the Ohio Valley, in the Midwest. But, some areas are just rain, some you're mixing with some snow. And there's just a lot of energy flying around right in here in this region. Got energy up here in the Northeast, and it just looks like kind of lighter shades of blue, lighter shades of green, but there is energy in place right here. There's just nothing big coming together. But as we get into next weekend, our New Year's weekend, Friday morning, 29th, we could have a snowy kind of into the week next week in the Appalachian Mountains. Some lake effect snow could get going, and we could have another area of energy that swings down. And I think all next weekend we're going to have some lake effect snow flying around. But another area of energy will try to kind of sweep in around New Year's, and we got to watch this. It's warmer now. It's cold rain for the southeast, but you got snow on top of this. So it's something that we need to kind of watch as we get closer to the new year. And if we look at the GFS, GFS is much more aggressive with kind of in the now term. So we're getting into the 28th. Look at the snow trying to develop from this energy that's pivoting around this this trough in place. This is the trough digging down right here, and we got energy kind of rotating around in this trough. And this is some interesting development. And the latest GFS has been trending a little bit more aggressive. Look at the snow in Kentucky as we're getting into next Thursday, next Friday morning, southern Ohio. This is not a forecast, but this shows some moderate to heavy snow kind of drifting around. Very odd setup. There's energy just flying around. And then this kind of moves. We start to get into next Friday evening, and a low tries to develop. Throw some snow into West Virginia, Northern Virginia, into next weekend. We're getting into next Saturday morning. There's energy still flying around. You see the lighter shades of green and blue, and this is getting into next Friday afternoon. Still energy there. In fact, there's enough for some snow to fly around the mountains of the southern Appalachians. So this continues, and a low tries to form here. Just doesn't quite do it. And then here comes some more energy from the north, kind of trying to shoot down, and this looks like a pretty aggressive piece of energy, but it's northern stream dominated. So it's not really tapping into any kind of southern stream energy, but just shows a kind of an aggressive clipper that swings down sometime around New Year's Day, day after New Year's. Not a forecast, but it does kickstart snow again in the Appalachian Mountains. So I think, in the ski country in the mountains could be some times to watch out for sure. Some snow from the sky, not from machines, if you will. But the low tries to develop right here. It's about 9 to 10 days out. And this is close to being something. You're starting to see some blue in North Carolina. It's close to something. In fact, it does try to do something in southern New England 10 days from now. There's a lot of energy flying around, guys. There really is. And, if you keep this going also, there's still energy flying around. In fact, it shows a kind of a bigger winter storm as we get into, about 14 to 15 days from now, which is very unreliable. But another way to look at this energy is here it comes. This upper trough starts to settle in, and we are just getting a lot of these vibrant reds and yellows and oranges just kind of just flying around out here. Here's one right here off the GFS. This tries to do something, but it never can tap into anything. And then as we are getting into around New Year's, here's some energy right here in the southern stream, energy in the northern stream. They're trying to connect. This is the stuff that we watch out for. This energy and this energy. But what happens here is this scoots on off too fast. They never can attach. And this is just a kind of a dominant northern stream energy. So this never becomes one of those big winter storms. It's enough because it's a pretty stout area of energy to have some precipitation flying around, but it's not enough to really do anything significant whatsoever. But you got a lot of energy over the eastern U.S. for sure, and then it just continues behind this. But, what we can tell you with this is if we look at the GFS ensemble, there is a signal for kind of what I was talking about to round off the year. A little bit of snow. It's not a big signal. If you look at the southern Appalachian Mountains, it does show that signal. I think you guys are going to get some snow, but there is some trace amounts showing up for the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and then we start to get, closer to the new year and things start to fill in a little bit more, but we still got some question marks. Okay. And, but we've been talking about this a lot. Not going to stay as long on it as I've been doing, but lower pressure in the blue, higher pressure in the red here. And we keep this going in motion. This trough, you see this blue area, this is a trough or a dip in the jet stream, indicates more stormier conditions, colder than average temperatures. And you see this ridge over Canada starting to bulge north. And, we take it all the way out to let's just take it all the way to New Year's. So what you got going on here is, I'll try to explain this quick for you folks because we're going on 40 minutes, is I'll draw lines on here. You see this ridge going all the way up to Alaska, then it kind of comes back down. You have this trough dig down here, and then it kind of goes back up way over here. So this is our ridge building all the way up into Alaska. We call that a negative EPO. Anytime you see warmer colors, just in general in Alaska, that typically means colder air is getting dislodged down to the lower 48. And this kind of ridge kind of goes up and splits this polar vortex, and we got cooler temperatures kind of riding down here. and even some cooler temperatures down here. But if you look at these blues, that's lower pressure. If you keep this going, this would fill in blue down here probably. So what this is an active storm track kind of riding through here and kind of going down like, well, probably not that far, but kind of going like that. And we have cold air because this ridge comes up and dislodges the polar vortex, kind of splits down, cold air kind of comes down here into this active storm track. At the same time, we have little pieces of energy kind of riding down into here, trying to connect with this area right into here. So northern stream energy kind of coming down from the backside of this trough. You know, something will tries to meet somewhere into here. Cold air gets dislodged into this, all this energy flying around could end up getting something. So that's what we watch for, guys. That's all I got. We'll continue to pump out information for you, you know, with Christmas Eve today, Christmas Day tomorrow. You know, things will kind of probably pause a little bit with how active I get videos out. But as soon as it gets after Christmas, things are full speed ahead, guys. But that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.